Hello, career competitor. This is Steve Meller, as always, here to share with you some powerful conversation and some significant insights into what it means to optimize your career in pursuit of your optimal self. I am excited to be introducing our guest here shortly. But as always, let me draw your attention to careercompetitor.com, where you'll see right at the top of that homepage is a place where you can enter your email and become a part of my monthly subscription, my mid-monthly message, where I am just simply giving you that little nudge in the middle of the month to remember that whatever it was you set out to achieve with all that energy at the outset of the month and whatever those lofty goals may be at the end of the month, that you're not going to lose sight of that journey in between. Become a part of my community today. Head to careercompetitor.com, enter your email, and look forward to my next mid-monthly message. Now, let's get right into the show. Hello there, and welcome into this episode where I get to welcome in David Conway to the show, and I am looking forward to giving him the introduction he certainly deserves here in just one moment. But 3 things to be listening out for amongst many other things across the course of our discussion. Firstly, Dave and I are going to cover why goals are more effective when we make them about what we can give to others. Secondly, we're going to cover the reason we ask what it means to be in possession of a human mind. And finally, we're going to cover how emotions can drive our behaviors to reach our potential. So these 3 things and much more in what I would have to say is a mental training episode of Career Competitor, and I hope you all enjoy. Okay, our guest is a highly regarded mindset mentor and one of the best kept secrets of the personal development industry, having coached over 25,000 entrepreneurs and coaches worldwide. As the founder of Conway Consulting, our guest helps people discover the power within their minds to create results unlike any they've ever experienced, thanks to the practice of manifestation. As a regular contributor to Forbes.com and Entrepreneur.com, our guest takes an action-oriented approach to mindset coaching that empowers people to discover how powerful they really are. I'm excited to be welcoming into the show Dave Conway. Dave, how are we doing, brother?
We're doing fantastic. How are you doing, Steve?
Excellent. Excellent. Better to be speaking with you. And as I just joked with you before we started recording, it was always good to be able to catch up with a guest for the first time before we record, because it just feels as though we get to pick up our conversation. But for the sake of our listeners, they won't know about all this incredible insight that we shared privately. And we don't want to be selfish here. We want to share the value that you bring to the world in the work that you do, brother. So what I would love to do is anyone like yourself that's working with such a variety of clients as you do in so many different industries, I have to assume, in so many different worlds it can feel like at times. I'm curious, how does Dave go about his day in a way where you can actually practice the very thing that it is you're obviously helping others practice within their worlds?
You mean your question? You mean like how do I live my life through what I teach?
Absolutely. How are you applying the very thing that it is you're obviously providing so much impact to other people?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I remember I used to work with a gentleman named Bob Proctor, and we were down in a training in Scottsdale, Arizona, and there was about a room of maybe 16 of us, and we all worked with Bob, and we were all on a sales and coaching team. And I remember there's these 2 guys that he just started to pick on, and he went over them and he said, "Are you a fraud?" That's what he said, "Are you a fraud?" And then he looked over this other guy and he was like, "Are you a fraud?" And like the blood just left their face. And I got pretty straight up. I was like, man, I better make sure I'm not a fraud. You got to practice what you preach. You got to become a product of your own product. So for me, every day consists of study. I read at least 30 to 60 minutes every day, and I love to study powerful information. I have a visualization practice. So I visualize, again, I like to go at least 30 minutes every single day of visualization, seeing my life how I want it to be, seeing myself how I want it to be. I don't think there's anything more important than every single day getting your mind set right where you want it.
See, immediately, you've just presented a nice looking rabbit hole for us to dive into here, because I think one thing that everybody, I would like to believe, is agreeing as we listen to this is we don't do particularly well making time for ourselves as it is. And now you're saying that you're making time for yourself in a way that's so specific, it's so detail oriented, to where you are taking the time not only to read, just to continue to advance what it is you know and how it is you can apply this knowledge. And I think that's probably something that we can all relate to on some level. But then to take it another step further and to actually sit down, maybe with pen in hand, whatever it may be, and just to start to really articulate, hey, this is where I'm going. This is where I intend to be. This is what's going to happen to me. I'm curious, when you think about that very process, and I have to assume how much you've been able to tailor that and almost master that now just for yourself, where on earth does someone who has never made a minute for that kind of work start with this sort of thing?
Well, working is the worst way to make money. Okay? It's the worst. If it was the best way to make money, many more people, there's a lot of people that are hardworking, so why isn't everyone a millionaire? Mm-hmm. It's thinking that makes us money. It's the mind that makes us money. One of my mentors used to say, I know where all the money is. And I'd say, well, damn it, at that time I was broke. I say, well, damn it, just tell me where it is. He never did. He never did. He never told me. I said, I'll go there right now. Right. Well, I found out where it is, and I'm going to share with your listeners. Your money is in your imagination. Everything starts in the form of an idea. Everything. So if you've got listeners that aren't, haven't started a journey of goal setting or haven't started a journey of entering into the mind. I also used to have a mentor when I was in my early 20s, and he used to say this to me, say, Dave, the mind is a scary place. Don't go in alone, especially you. You need a Sherpa. You need a Sherpa to go in.
Someone should have told me that years ago.
So it all starts with goals. It all starts with goals. And I believe that the word goals in themselves are the most misunderstood word in the English language. Because people think that, some people's goals the word goal might be, put a puck in a hockey net or put a football in a football net. No, they're so much bigger than that. They're so much bigger than that. And many people set goals because they want to get. Most people want to get. So even listeners today might be falling into this category. So I want to use this idea so I can get more, so I can have more. I want to use these ideas so I can get more, so I can have more. And what I teach is I want to be used by these ideas so I can give more, so others can have more. I'll repeat that. Mm-hmm. I want to be used by these ideas so I can give more, so others can have more. And that's what goals are all about. Most times when people set goals, they think they're trying to get somewhere. They're trying to get somewhere. They're striving. They're trying to get somewhere. But only if they start to understand that the purpose of a goal is not to get. The purpose of a goal is to grow. Mm-hmm. You see, we're a spiritual being. We have an intellect and we live in a physical body. When we start understanding that, you'll start to realize that what a goal actually does is a goal gets us in harmony with the universal laws. If you look out in nature, there's no creature struggling. You're not going to go out and into the garden and see a blade of grass. And you bend down to a little blade of grass and say, hey, little blade of grass, how you doing today? And the blade of grass is like, oh, like shit, man, what a day today, boy. It's just not going to do that. It just is. Everything just is. It's like, what's that, little blade of grass? How's your day? Oh, man, this guy beside me, he's like at least 1 inch taller and he's a little thicker. I hate him. I want to be like him. I'm feeling bad about my own physique and my own roots right now. Not going to happen. Nature doesn't do that, but you and I do. So everything in this universe is operating by law. what goals do is goals get human beings in harmony with the universal laws, because we, just like nature, we too are designed to grow. Except we want to grasp is we've also been endowed with a great gift, therefore also a great curse, a blessing and a curse, and it's free will. See, we've been endowed with the godlike ability to create our own world as individuals, and we do that every second of the day, whether aware of it or not. What a goal does is a goal helps a human being start to take control of their thought energy, of their person.
Yeah, and I think it's so helpful to provide your insight around this notion of how you approach goals, because there has definitely been we both operate in the personal development space, and there's been this interesting shift with goals and how goals can sometimes feel like it's a square peg going into a circular hole and all that kind of thing, and it doesn't quite feel right, it doesn't fit right, all this kind of stuff. And what you're saying here is if we can actually just, before we start getting specific around what it is we're trying to achieve, it's asking these questions, to your point of saying, how will this goal be, how am I going to be able to emulate the fact that I'm using the results that I'm giving from this result, so that other people can potentially have more because of the goal that I've actually gone on and achieved. I immediately relate to that just because I come from 20 years of coaching. And so in many ways as a coach, you have to kind of get out of your own way and say the goal in many ways is never about me. It's about the individual. So what do I need to do in order to better position them? But what I'm hearing here is that there's almost a lesson to be learned from that for everybody in all industries, in all approaches. Like, am I hearing that right?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, if we want to start to enjoy our life, we got to start to learn how to give. Most people aren't giving; they're just trading. Yeah. It's very rare to find a person in the world along your journey that truly is like a detached giver. Everybody's trying to trade all the time. So to start to understand that, to learn how to give your goal a chance, to learn how to consent to these ideas and let the ideas start to use you, then you'll find that your life starts to become pretty marvelous. And then you can let go. You don't have to control everything. You can relax. You can relax into the idea. So for example, when I used to be a carpenter earning $60,000 a year, so $5,000 a month. And I set a goal way beyond my current capacity, way beyond my current ability, way beyond my current financial situation. And I set a goal of earning $100,000 a month. So 20xing my income, doing the work that I'm doing today in a totally different profession. Well, my mind tried to kill that idea. My paradigm tried to kill off that idea. But I learned that if you set a goal, the only criteria to set a goal is, do I want it? Not can I have it? Not am I good enough? Not is everything right? Things are never going to be right. And through this material, through the endeavoring, through visualization, through the idea of service, because what I've found is that, manifestation gets a bad rap, and rightfully so, rightfully so. A lot of hypocrites and a lot of nonsense in there. A lot of people selling the idea of something for nothing. That's a crock of shit. This universe demands sacrifice for everything. Even if you're going to sit down right now, you have to sacrifice standing up. If you're sitting and you're going to stand up, you have to sacrifice sitting down. Right? If you're going to drink a glass of water, you have to sacrifice drinking a sip of coffee. Like, everything has a sacrifice. Everything has. It's one thing for everything. You can only do one thing at a time. So a lot of people in manifestation and personal development, they're full of it because they're saying you can have everything and change nothing. That's not the deal. You can have everything, but you're going to have to change everything at the same time. So as I started to practice this, what I found was, as I started to visualize, as I started to study, as I started to endeavor, as I started to get a clear mental picture of what it would look like, who's the man that earns $100,000 a month in this profession, what started to happen was I started to attract opportunities, and I started attracting opportunities to serve. And since then, I've realized that what the universe's paradigm really is, it's to give. It can only give you what it is, and it's supportive and it's giving. So it's going to start to ask you to start to give bigger. It's going to ask more of you. I always joke around with a lot of our clients saying the universe isn't going to teach her secrets to a wimp. Who wants a wimp representing them? No one. Would you like a wimp representing you?
No.
Exactly. Would you like a phony and a fake representing you?
Right.
Exactly. So the universe is no different than you and I in that way. She's going to demand that everybody is sharpened. The universe will get rid of anything that's inefficient too.
Mm-hmm. And it's why I've been looking forward to having you on the show, because this is one of those, you come from a world where, as you alluded to it, there's no point hiding behind the fact that when you talk about this topic of manifestation, there is a lot of pushback against a lot of it. And here you are again, as you did with this definition for goals, coming forwards and just saying, listen, you can buy into the 85, 90% of what's out there. But if you actually get clear on exactly what this practice is, it can not only work for you, but it can work for you real quick. Because it comes with, as you said, what do I want? And what am I willing to change? And maybe it is a trade, like a 1-for-1 at first. But at some point, chances are it's going to become a 2-for-2 and then a 3-for-3. And slowly it's going to add up. But there is this, what I'm hearing here, man, is like, there's a real responsibility and discipline around this work. And it's not as simple as just walking outside, stretching to start the day and saying, okay, I'd love $1 million right now. Where are you at, $1 million? You know, there's a real practice involved here. And to your mentor's insight from before, probably shouldn't go in there alone. You probably should go in there with a little bit of support and a little bit of help. And how are you doing exactly that with your clients? Like, how are you maybe bridging that gap initially, where they maybe have this initial perspective of what it is they're actually committing to, versus, hey, here's a big dose of reality around exactly what manifestation is and some of those initial practices that they can maybe start to implement?
Yeah, so I help a lot of people like increase their income and multiply their income. So, for example, help people go from 10 grand a month to 100 grand a month, helping people go from 100 grand a month to $1 million a month. So a lot of my client base is very financial focused. And I sell the idea that we can grow rich with peace of mind. So a lot of times when the person comes originally, they're kind of into the idea of increasing their income. So most of the clients don't really know what they're signing up for. You know, I always have a laugh. Like we have some really, really high-end mastermind groups, and some of them are upwards of 60,000 US just for a 2-day event. Right. And I always laugh because there's this lady that works with me, Wendy, who I call her Wendini because she is magic. She just lives through these ideas. And I say, Wendy, how many people do you think actually know what they're signing up for? And she's like, oh, none. They don't really know. And I didn't know. So when I set the goal from going from a carpenter earning 5 grand a month to being in personal development earning 100, I really didn't know what I was signing up for. I didn't know what that idea would cost. I've also found that $1 million idea generally costs $1 million. I've also found that a $10 million idea generally costs $10 million. I had no idea that in my first year I'd invest $215,000 into my head. I had no idea that I'd be gone for 4 months of the year. I had no idea what the idea contained. But what I found is that it unfolds itself. It unfolds itself. So like I said before, the only criteria to set a goal in my book of rules is, do I want it? If you observe nature, I think a great thing to always ask yourself is, how am I the same as nature? Because you are very similar to nature, if not identical. Nature unfolds. You know what else nature does? She multiplies. You put one acorn in the ground, that acorn doesn't just give you the oak tree. It also gives you 10,000 more acorns over its lifespan. It's always multiplying itself. We have to start to live the same way. So I don't think that people, in my book of rules, I don't think people should be setting little small goals. I like the idea of having a 30-day year, having 30-day years. Whatever I'm currently earning in a year, whatever I'm currently producing in a year, my level of service, can I do it in 30 days? And not just once, habitually continue to do it in 30 days. And the answer to that question is you can.
Right.
You definitely can. So when it comes to our clients, Yeah, sure. We sell them the idea, hey, we can help you multiply your income. They get in, and then some of them, they say, wow, this is definitely a different little world here.
And I love actually how you just presented that there, because it is clearly a stepping into that comes with all this that you're talking about. It's not a waiting for. And again, this goes back to the manifestation piece of this. Manifesting is not as simple, from what I'm hearing, is not as simple as me just writing a bunch of stuff down on a whiteboard and then just going about my life the same way I was. It's actually stepping into the world that is required to bring that into existence and doing the work. But at the same time, it starts with that almost bravery of saying, hey, I want this. Like, I really want this. And to then work with someone like yourself, obviously, is a big step to that. But I almost want to go earlier than that in the process, as opposed to, let's say someone doesn't have the means right now to be working with somebody. And just to go back to that insight I just provided around the bravery, or just the simple awareness, like saying, like, I know something's off, and I know I'm not chasing or pursuing, however you want to put it, this thing that I'm capable of pursuing. In your experience, man, like, what is that? What do some of those light bulb moments look like for people when they can just say, hey, it's time that I put aside this acceptance piece of my life and I start to actually step into, like you said, creating a goal that's actually going to drive true growth?
Well, the idea that we don't have support is bullshit. So when we say, like, a person doesn't have the means, that's not true. What they don't have is awareness. Because energy is neither created nor destroyed. Now, I'm not inventing this. These are very, higher, much more intelligent minds than me through science and physics, and we're talking about like Einstein levels of people. They've discovered that energy is neither created nor destroyed. So energy is. If you go over to the theologian, they'll say God is omnipresent, begin Alpha and the Omega. So the idea that we don't have something is ridiculous, because energy can either be created or destroyed, which means that everything is already here. What we lack is awareness. So I have a lady on my team, Carrie, and Carrie said a couple weeks ago, she said, I said, how did that call go with that person? And she said, oh, they didn't have the money. I said, that's not true. That's not true. You see, what that person doesn't know is that person doesn't know how to make a decision. You see, we sell ourselves short every single day. If only people knew how powerful they are. I remember when I was 33 years old and I was struggling, and I remember thinking, like, this can't be it. Like, this can't be it. Like, for some reason, I intuitively have a problem with the idea that you and I are destined just to be here, live through our five senses like an animal, and just survive, get by, rely on it, live through the left brain, live through the reasoning faculty, 1 + 1, 2 + 2, to live through that. I just had a huge problem with that. I said, that just can't be. Because on the other side, I grew up, I'm from Ireland originally, so you're going to be Catholic if you're Ireland, from Ireland. And you'll hear these things, God loves you, the kingdom of God, all these things. You are wonderful. You have infinite potential. I don't think there's many people in the world now that haven't heard that, especially in a first world country, that you have infinite potential. Well, where is that potential? Is it in your nose, underneath your armpit, between your toes? Like, where the hell is it? Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's in your mind. Right. And it's your level of awareness. It's your level of awareness. And we've all experienced this, where you're kind of going along in life, and then all of a sudden you become aware, like, whoa, I have something really special. It could be a relationship. Maybe you start having gratitude for something you previously didn't have gratitude for. Maybe one of your friends got injured, and maybe he lost his ability to walk, and then you all of a sudden become grateful that you can walk. And we take all these things for granted throughout our whole life. Well, I believe that the biggest thing that we take for granted is the human mind. Every human being on the planet has been endowed with one. We've been walking around with it since the moment we were born. It's on this call with us right now. What people don't know is they don't know how to use it. So I start a lot of my workshops, and I'll say, who here is aware that they're in possession of a human mind? And I'll have a lot of people, they kind of giggle and like, who is this guy? Where'd you get this speaker? And they'll say, well, of course, what a stupid question. And I'll say, all right, what does it mean to be in possession of a human mind? What role is your mind playing in your life? And it just, boom, crickets. Probably 99% of the room's the first time they've ever even asked the question. What does it mean to be in possession of a human mind? What does it mean to my relationships, to my income, to my health, to my general state, to my happiness, to my emotions? What does it really mean? And you'll find as a person starts to ask that question, everybody winds up answering the exact same answer. Everything. So if a person is on this call today and they say, well, I don't have the means for that, don't stop saying that. What they can do is they can relax. Don't remember, do I want it? If you want something, the first thing you do is build a clear mental picture in your head. You'll start to leverage the universe if you do that.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. And I'm always so appreciative when I can ask a question and my guest can just turn around and say, I'm gonna decipher the bullshit in that very question, in that very anecdote that you set that question up with, Steve, because it's important that I do, and it's important that your listeners hear that too. And I'm so glad that you did that, because I couldn't agree more. Like this notion of actually, hey, if you don't feel as though you have the means, it's your way of maybe just creating that excuse yet again for not taking that step or not making that commitment, or distracting yourself, or or limiting your awareness, all these sort of things. Again, I think about some of my decisions early on with my business, and it came from an awareness of what I wanted. And some would maybe look at some of those decisions and say that was a little reckless. And it's like, well, actually, if you do the math, the 1 + 1 = 2, it's like, if I really want that thing that I claim to want, then I actually have to do this. Like, this is just part of that process.
Right. Then it would convert into a goal. So most times, like I've done over 10,000 one-on-one coaching calls. I've done over 3,000 sales calls. What I've realized in my job is I'm just a facilitator of decisions. That's all I do every day, all day long. I just help people make decisions. And if I ask a person, well, what's your goal? A lot of people aren't able to answer it like that, which means they don't have it solid, like they don't really know. So then what you'll hear general wants. Oh, I want to be happy. I want to be free. I want financial freedom. Most people saying these, they don't even know what that is. And then it's like, all right, as they get the wants out, you have to select it. So most people that don't ever achieve their goals, because it actually isn't a real goal, it's just a want. What's his name? Dr. Blanchard said there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you'll do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results.
Yep.
And that's a huge difference in how you pursue something. Now, there's a lot of the idea that's been sold in this world is all through willpower. And what I mean by that is like, well, if I'm going to get this goal, I got to drive hard and I got to work hard and I got to like stay single till I'm 45 and no kids and all this stuff, which is interesting because some of the richest people that I know, they have children. And I know other wealthy people that don't have children. I know people that are women that are wealthy, and I know people that are men that are wealthy. I know people that have been divorced that are wealthy, and I know people that have never been married that are wealthy. And I also know the same spectrum for people that are broke and unhappy. Right. So it's obvious that your current world has got nothing to do with what you actually produce if you keep the current world where it belongs, on the outside. So most times what most people do is they think they have a goal, but they don't. What is a goal, Dave? How do I know I've got a goal? Is it changing your behavior? Is the idea changing your behavior? Are you waking up a little early? Is your mind a little more obsessive than it previously has been? Are you doing things that scare you? Are you spending money a little different? Are you flying to places that previously you've never been? Because you see, when you really get a true goal, that goal's going to ask you. You see, in every idea, there's a life. In every goal, there's a life. And in every life, there's a person living it. And what's a goal is designed to do is a goal is designed to draw out more life from you. So it's going to ask you to do things differently. Now, what most people do is they'll get this goal. Let's say the idea of like a 30-day year, turn your annual income into your monthly income. So you get these ideas and they say, okay, well, does it fit? And the answer is no. The goal's way bigger than you. This idea is way beyond your current capacity, way beyond your current level of support, way beyond your financial situation, way beyond your level of courage, way beyond your current ability and faith. So what we do, most people, because of this, they'll kill the idea. Yep. Or the second thing they do is they shrink it down to match their current state, their current world. People must understand this. If you don't take control of your mind, you will conform to the outside world. If you take control of your mind, the outside world will conform to you. But understand, someone must conform. Something must be conformed. So the purpose, you get those big ideas, as you pursue them, you start to find a better version of yourself inside. There's a bigger version of you inside. You have infinite potential. How do you access it, Dave? You access it through goals. The bigger the goal, the more potential you must access.
So much. I mean, we could just keep going for another 30 minutes. And the power, something that you're providing here, man, is that, and I think this is so important to get across, is the interest versus the commitment that mentor provided to you. Was it mentor? Sorry, I forget who it was you referenced, but that
was Ken Blanchard.
Yeah. So just that notion of the interest versus the commitment, and understanding that is so often how we are talking to ourselves and assuming that we're creating goals, that we're creating these strong intentions, when really we're just interested by the idea. And it's actually a wonderfully freeing feeling when we accept that, because we see ourselves a little differently. We say, listen, from now on, whenever I say something, I'm going to now run it through a filter like that. I'm just going to start running it through. Like, are you committed to this, or are you simply interested in this? And the idea as well of just simply me conforming to the world or the world conforming to me, man, I mean, that is beautiful. We'll timestamp that and we'll 100% blast that out everywhere, because that is something that we all need the reminder of daily, is this notion of, hey, why is it I'm allowing my current circumstances to be the driver of how I see what's possible? You know, and that's what you're saying here. I'm allowing my current circumstances to almost filter what I can actually go on and achieve, when really, listen, if what you want is so much greater than your current circumstances, why on earth would you use your current circumstances as a way, in any way, to filter what it is you're going for and how you intend to go about it? You know, again, I did this in sport for years. You want to be this standard an athlete? There's no point trying to do things at the standard that you're currently doing it. Literally nothing will come from that. The only way you become this standard that you're talking about is doing everything now to the best of your ability as someone who's already of that standard. That is who we are. That is what we're capable of, to your point, around potential. And something that I have to just sort of pass back over to you now, and I'm hearing this, it's why I just relate to you so much, is that all of this, while many ways people can listen to this conversation and say, listen to what Dave's offering here, listen to what Steve and Dave are talking up and what we're offering here, I'm personally hearing this as this is how it should be and is. This is how it is. This isn't about an offer. This isn't about a perspective. This is just it. This is how it is. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Right.
Like, you're not going to find your infinite potential in the bank account. You're also not going to find it in a marriage.
Right.
You're going to find it inside. That's where everything comes from. You know, I like the idea of that. I've built an inner wall, a sancto sanctorum. And I visualize that there's 3 walls. So imagine 3 circles. The outside circle, the bigger one, on the outside is the world. And they can stay out there. Then there's another circle on the inside. There's a wall. It's not quite as high. Maybe 6 to a dozen people get into that wall. Then over there's another higher wall. Over that wall, 1 to 3 people. But inside there's a wall that no human being is allowed over. And that's my inner wall. That's me and myself. Me and my creator, whatever people's prerogative is there. Me and my potential. And inside that wall is where I derive all my power. Now, most people, they don't have these walls. So Anderson Cooper gets into the inner circle. I don't know who that English guy is. Who's the English guy who does he's pretty funny. Name an English commentary guy. I don't know.
I know exactly.
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. I was going to say, you took it right.
Yeah, Piers will get in there. Yeah. Piers will get in there. The whole world will get in there. You know, you'd never leave the front door of your home open 365 days a year, 24/7. You'd never do that. You'd never. Why? Because you believe that you want to be safe. You want to keep your assets and the contents of that home safe. That's why you do it. But for some reason, people have never been trained to keep their mind safe. So people walking through the mind with muddy boots. People protect a $5 bill more than they protect the source of their entire life, which is their mind.
And I'm so thankful that you can actually make that point around the importance of us actually committing enough to ourselves to build that wall alone and or with that creator that you have that faith with. You know, I'm a Christian personally, and so for me, that is my relationship with God. But at the same time, as much as I love my family, as much as I love some of my closest friends, for me to truly show my greatest investment to myself, and I want to get that abundantly clear, for me to actually show myself my greatest worth and value, I have to build that wall. That is actually how I get to honor my value, is by building that wall. Because if I don't, then I'm showing that people can access me whenever they want, however they want, and it is what it is. And that's actually telling the world, I don't actually put a value on me. That's what you're saying in that moment. I'm not putting a value on me. But by
bingo, you're not putting the value on you and your creator, your source. And if you want to set a criteria of like, well, Dave, who gets into the inner wall, like the one that's on like the 1 to 3 person wall? How does a person get over there? Well, it's very simple. The people that get into the inner walls, they have no desire to get into the inner wall, into the sancto sanctorum.
Oh, I love that.
They have no desire to get in.
Right.
What they want is they want you to come from that place. That is the criteria. And most people are not doing that.
Yep.
Now, they're not bad people. They're not evil people. They're ignorant.
Yeah.
They're ignorant. As you keep finding that place on the inside, as you keep finding it, you'll be guided. And the world's selling an idea, and I touched on this before, I don't think I've finished the idea though. The world's selling an idea that you got to like grit and determination, all this stuff. That's a crock of shit. What you need to do is you need to relax into the idea. Just start to spend time with it. What would happen if I turned my annual into my monthly? What would that be like? Who is that? Who is that Dave? How does he walk, talk, dress, act? What's his friends like? And it's all fantasy. It's all done through the mind. You don't got to show grit and determination. You got to relax.
I mean, you just hit me on a level there at the end. The notion of those that get into that group of 1 or 3 are the ones that are most willing to respect the need to never get in to that, over that final wall. I mean, that is
no desire.
It's so powerful, man. I mean, again, it actually derived a little bit of emotion out of me as I thought about my relationship with my wife, for instance. Like, again, it's that understanding of, hey, whenever you need me, I'm here. It's that complete respect for that. You know, whenever you need me, I'm here. And from time to time, you're probably going to hear me, you know, hey, get out your own way. I need your help over here with whatever it may be. But on this level of this work that we're talking about here, when we talk about this notion of, you know, positioning yourself to go and get and obtain what it is you're capable of getting, that's what it is with her, and that's what it is with maybe one or two in my world, where they're just so adamant, where it's, Steve, listen, if you need anything, I'm here. But I respect you enough to see that this is you, this is your journey, this is your mission. And I also respect your values and beliefs enough to not interfere on that kind of level.
Well, thoughts are etherical, right? So they'll just go right through the walls.
Yeah.
So you got to watch it. You said you're a Christian, so I'll give you a Bible story that will help you understand it. Yeah. When Jesus was 12, his mother was all stressed out. The mom, Mary's probably all worried about him, like, where the heck's Jesus? And she finds him in the temple, talking to the other teachers. He's teaching in there, and she's all stressed out. And she's probably going in there like, "Where were you?" You know, like my mom used to get stressed. She's hitting me in the head sometimes.
This is matching up with me right now at 12. So
yeah, you know, like a mother. Like, you want to worry a mother, man? She'll beat your ass. Right. Anyway, so Mary's looking for him, and what does he say to her? He said, "Woman, I'm in my Father's temple." Now, what does he mean by that? Is he disrespecting his mom? No, he's not. He's protecting the inner wall. He's saying, Mother, you don't get access to this. Mm-hmm. No human gets access to this. That's what he's saying. Yeah. Mother, I'm in my Father's temple. I'm in the Sancto Sanctorum. Mm-hmm. I'm spending time where I need to spend so I can be a better son, so I can be a better leader, so I can be a better father, so I can be a better brother. You see, if you go back, and I think at the beginning of the call too, you were kind of saying, wow, like 30 minutes of study, 30 minutes of visualizing, of course. Mm-hmm. That's probably not even enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brother, this has been incredible. It was everything that I figured it would be and more. And I think what's so great about these insights that you've provided is that they are all doable. They are all implementable, if that is such a word. They can be implemented at that moment when you just say, do I want the goal? Do I want it? Do I really want it? Do I want to do the work? Am I willing to start seeing this as a one-for-one kind of approach to what I do and why I do it? And hey, you know what? If it's not about money, it's not about money. But if it's about something, if it's something that matters enough to you, where you want it in your world and you want to make it happen, listen to everything that we've discussed, because there's so many steps and processes here that can be so immediate in many ways in terms of the impact that they have if you're disciplined enough to apply them. But listen, in closing, man, I just want to pass it back over to you to let us know if anyone is interested, just to learn a little bit more about you, the work you're doing, how they can maybe get involved with it, and certainly any additional insights you think are worth sharing in closing here too.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, just come on Instagram. I go on the Instagram. Conway Consulting on Instagram. Just come hit a like or a follow. I go live every Tuesday teaching some ideas. And also on there, I've got a free 21-day money manifestation challenge. So it helps the audience sharpen their imagination, so improve their imagination and their ability to focus. So come check it out on Conway Consulting on my Instagram page, and there's Conway Consulting on the website too. But come hang on Instagram. I like to close all the podcasts with my favorite quote, because I think it gets us thinking, I think it gets us curious, and I think it gets us honest all at once. It's from the incredible Earl Nightingale, the Dean of Personal Development, and he said, "You are now, and you will become what you think about." So your life's the culmination of your past thoughts. and your future is the culmination of your current ones. So watch your thinking.
And on that note, I couldn't think of a better way to close. It's a good job you finished on every podcast with that, because that's about as good way as you could possibly close this thing. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have no doubt that our worlds will continue to exist within each other's, and will be a day where you come back on the show as well. I look forward to that. But in the meantime, man, thank you again for the insights, and just best of luck with anything and everything coming up for you, brother.
Thank you, Steve.
And my thanks again to Dave for joining us on the show. So much truly fruitful insight, courtesy of Dave, around what we can all be thinking about when it comes to our mindset. And as we wrap this up, I want to just leave you with this insight, courtesy of our conversation, where I just simply encourage you to be open to your infinite potential. I know that can seem somewhat unrealistic at times, like, what am I truly capable of? Should I even make the time to be thinking about this and considering this sort of thing? But something we've heard in abundance through this conversation is the willingness to simply stop and consider our infinite potential by connecting with emotions and not dismissing them. Well, suddenly now we can actually start to take some of those initial steps. Maybe we can create some of that momentum, and we can start to see the benefit of doing that work. And it may be incremental, and it may take time. Whether you join something like Conway Consulting, or you became a client of mine, or you just simply don't even get any help, wherever you do it and however you do it, it's kind of irrelevant at this point, because all we're asking from this conversation is for you to say, hey, do I want to at least acknowledge I have infinite potential? And am I willing to start listening to the emotions that are at play in a way that can at least serve me, as opposed to just simply dismissing them before I've given them a chance to serve me? So I hope you're able to take that away, this final sentiment, as we wrap up here. I'm sure there was other things there too, but I'm really encouraging you just to simply step into an element of bravery here. Consider your emotions, acknowledge them, and maybe start to take some steps towards that infinite potential that you have been gifted. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and listen to this episode. Make sure you're clicking that 5th star if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. And in addition to that, take the time to share this episode with anybody that you feel can be a beneficiary of this great content. Best of luck with anything and everything you've got going on in your world, and bye for now.